Brilliant. Yeah, thanks, Ronan. Yeah, so firstly, I'd just like to thank Ronan and the Heritage Council there for having me on today, just to give a quick presentation there on some of the work which LawPro is involved with for Heritage Week each year, and I suppose more specifically Water Heritage Day, which is part of Heritage Week. So I'm a community water officer within LawPro there, covering the Tipperary and Waterford areas. So I'm in the Southeast team, and I suppose just on top of that as well. So I suppose LawPro's partnered with the Heritage Council on Water Heritage Day for many years, and we're very happy to support the celebration of our natural heritage and look forward to Heritage Week every year. Yeah, so if you want to go on there, Ron, thank you. Yeah, so who we are. So LawPro it's a national shared service working on behalf of the 31 local authorities in Ireland, coordinating efforts to achieve good water quality in rivers, lakes, estuaries, ground and coastal waters. It was established in 2016 because Ireland was not meeting its requirements under the EU Water Framework Directive. Um, so suppose we have a couple of different teams in LawPro. So we have a science, a communities team, a nature-based solutions team, farming for water, EIP, and a Blue Dots team. Um, and they're out doing loads of different work there with different catchments and communities. So the Water Framework Directive itself then is an EU legal framework to protect and restore clean waters across Europe by 2027. The Water Framework Directive was signed into law in October 2000, and it requires EU member states to achieve water quality of at least good status in rivers, lakes, groundwater, estuaries, and coastal waters by 2027 at the latest. So I suppose we collaborate and work with agencies on objectives set out in the Water Action Plan. So the Water Action Plan then is a national plan that aims to protect and restore good water quality in our rivers, lakes, estuaries, groundwater, and coastal waters for the benefit, health, biodiversity, climate, and communities. It includes a program. It includes a program of measures to protect and restore each one of the 4,842 bodies of waters to at least good status or good potential by 2027, with some limited exemption. I suppose in the most recent assessment by the EPA, likely more than half of Ireland's water bodies are considered to be at risk of not meeting mandatory environmental objectives by 2027. It is now unlikely that without urgent and substantial and persuasive measures that we won't meet these targets. Next slide there, Ron, please. Yeah, so this is just, I thought it's a nice snippet there. So water is not a commercial product like any other, but rather a heritage which must be protected, defended, and treated as such. So statement is the opening and foundational line of the Water Framework Directive, so which dictates that water is precious shared resource requiring protection and not merely a commercial commodity. So this will be the guiding principle for LawPro and underpins the value of water. Yep, next slide there, Ron, thank you. Yeah, so this is just the communities team. You can see there it's broken down across 5 different regions. Nationally, then there's 24 community water officers. We LawPro would have a network of active communities with the knowledge, skills, and capacity to make a difference. And in this way, LawPro's community water officers have established themselves as contact point for local communities. And I suppose if any of the people on the call today would like to get details for their local community water officer, if you go onto the LawPro webpage, you'll be able to get all the details on there. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so what does the communities team do? We work directly with communities to raise water quality awareness and drive local projects. So this is done through many different things like cleanup events in rivers, with local tidy towns, maybe some citizen science work. So engagement with communities and local groups around water quality is a core function of LawPro. And community water officers would work both water body and catchment scales, continue to build awareness, help build group capacity, support training and citizen science initiatives, and strengthen links between public bodies, funders, and communities. And community involvement is key to the protection of and management of local water bodies. And this has been achieved through a three-stage process. So I suppose stage one of that process would be going out and raising awareness of Law Pro and engaging communities on local water quality issues and concerns in their areas. And stage two then would be supporting those communities, supporting community involvement in the stewardship of their local streams, rivers, lakes, and coasts. And then stage three will be building capacity within local communities through knowledge, funding, and training. And I suppose our goal is to empower the local communities to manage and protect their own water bodies and participate in the river basin water action plan at a local level. Next slide. Yeah, so supporting communities. So again, it's just a small group, and they're the ways that we support the community. So through events, awareness raising and education, citizen science training and support, project development, collaboration with other agencies, and funding. Yeah, so next, no, that's fine, run that. But yeah, so our funding stream. So we'd have a couple of different funding streams. And providing funding and grants is central to LAWPRO's work with communities and organisations across Ireland. Throughout the year, there are opportunities for groups to avail of funding for various funding schemes, including the ones that you can see here on the slide. So we'd have our Catchment Support Fund, Small Grant and Event Scheme, and Community Water Development Fund, and then the Water Heritage Day Fund as well. So I suppose the Catchment Support Fund then is a funding stream to build capacity by providing funding towards organisational forecasts, and it's modelled on a similar scheme operated by the Heritage Council called the Heritage Organisation Support Fund. And it helps to achieve the objectives of national policies and plans. I suppose the max amount of funding under this will be €50,000. Then we'll go down to the Small Grants and Events Fund. So then this is for community groups who wish to apply for funding for small-scale initiatives and events outside of LAWPRO's targeted open calls throughout the year. And funding is provided by the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage, and it covers events such as World Wetlands Day, Biodiversity Week, Science Week, and a couple of other events as well. May also be used for small awareness raising initiatives such as surveys and plans, citizen science, litter pick publications, biodiversity signage, and other small scale initiatives. But any applications, again, for any of these will have to have a water quality or water awareness focus. And this fund as well, I suppose the max amount we'd fund under this will be €5,000, and it's actually open at the moment. If anyone's interested there, they can get in contact with their local community water officer. But then we'd have our Community Water Development Fund. It was first introduced in 2018 to support locally led community-driven initiatives and projects to help improve water quality. So I suppose you can just see how much it's grown there. So in 2018, there was 180,000 funded. Then in 2024, there was 702,000. And then in 2025, there was over $1 million there. So in funding across 54 projects in 24 counties under the Water Community Development Fund Open Call 2025. And I suppose the grant amount in this would vary, I suppose, between €5,000 and €40,000. And next slide, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, so we have our Water Heritage Day funding. So as you can see here, it's an online application process. 30,000 in funding, and it's broken down across their 5 regions, so it's 6,000 per region. And it provides financial support to celebrate Water Heritage Day. It aims to encourage community groups to organise events such as riverside walks and talks, river safaris, or other events to celebrate our water-based foundation for natural heritage. The fund is normally, I think it's going to be open in July, but that's to be confirmed. And again, once it does open, there'll be posts on the LAWPRO social media, and the community water officers will also let their groups know when this fund is open. So if any of the guests on the call today would like to be informed, just get in contact with your local community water officer, and they'll put you on their communications list. Yeah, so just some info then around the funding itself. So who can apply for it? So I suppose it's not-for-profit community and voluntary groups, rural networks, urban networks, um, environmental NGOs, clubs, associations, other appropriate bodies. Individuals and schools may not apply unless working with a local community group and the group applies. And then I suppose just the non-eligible expenditure then will be projects that solely benefit an individual, teaching staff in schools, staff costs, travel and transport costs, except in exceptional circumstances. And again, your community water officer will be able to guide you on that. Equipment unless directly associated with the project, income generating projects, overheads, ongoing running costs, insurance. And again, there'll be guidelines sent out with this funding. So it's just to make sure to read the guidelines. And I suppose the funding here would normally be for things such as maybe for guest speakers at an event, hire of a room or a hall, refreshments, or maybe printing and advertising costs. Yeah, so then we have our Water Heritage Day 2025 highlights. So just a nice little nice snippet here of the total amount awarded and the event. Under the Water Heritage Day Grant Scheme 2025, there were 30,000 awarded to community groups to organise water-related events for Heritage Week. And so then this funding then resulted in 82 Water Heritage Day events organised and held nationwide with more than 3,000 participants involved. And I suppose just to make everyone aware as well that there's lots of other events that LawPro did not fund but would have helped out and supported in other ways, maybe through giving a talk at an event or a demonstration or something like that. And then I'm just going to give a quick run through some of the highlights for Heritage Week 2025. And I'm going to show you some of the events which LawPro supported across the 5 regions for Water Heritage Day. I suppose the theme of Water Heritage Day was 2025 was exploring our foundations and our waterways are an important part of our history of our island. And Water Heritage Day gives the communities a fantastic opportunity to celebrate our heritage through water. And as you will see from the 2025 events, there are ample ways for communities to get involved. Some of these events included walks and talks, built natural river heritage, flora and fauna, nature and paddle trips, music and nature, poetry and nature, citizen science. And again, this is only a small example of across the regions of the events which are held. Yeah, so just looking at our Southwest highlights there. So this here is community, sorry. So there was apologies. So here we have 24 events supported across Limerick, Cork, Kerry, and Clare. A Water Heritage Day launch in Bandon with Minister Chris O'Sullivan. So as you can see here, he launched the Heritage Week event in Bandon and with Creative Bandon, Bandon Rivers Trust, Bandon Bio, Bandon Tidy Towns, and he also unveiled an amazing mural banner celebrating the River Bandon. I suppose there was a big focus on bat walks, otter workshops in Clare and Kerry, and biodiversity walks and talks with focus on water quality throughout the region. So there was also a focus on family-friendly events in County Clare, in Shannontown, Ina, Drummondland, Ennisnyman, Spanish Point, Flagmount, and in Limerick, in Adair, Croom, Lochgoor, Newcastle West, and Limerick Racecourse. Some of the community water officers in this region's favourite event were the collaboration with Limerick County Council at their sustainability tent at the Limerick Show, where members of the public were engaged on their local water quality via catchments.ie and pressures discussed. And there was a lot of interest with members of the public seeking out the LawPro stand to see what their local water quality was. There was an otter workshop led by Meg Rivers Trust and was a lovely family-friendly event where children learned about otters and built an otter hold at the end of the event, which was delightful. And next slide. Yeah, some more highlights there. So there was 8 Law supported Heritage Week events took place in Kerry. Highlights included exploring Lough Gill by boat with Castle Gregory trout anglers, and it was a very well organised and enjoyable event. Around 10 anglers took groups out in 2 sessions, and it's not a very accessible lake, and even people who lived in the area their whole lives hadn't been out to the lake, so locals and visitors alike could benefit from the knowledge of anglers and enjoy the beauty of the area. So that's the top left hand picture there is the trip. So there was also otter talks with Dr. Frida Marnell, National Parks and Wildlife Service, with Three Tidy Towns and Maharees Conservation Association. There was a heritage cliff walk and dolphin watch with Ballybunion Community Forum. And they closed out the week there with a fantastic bog walk with Kenmare, Tidy Towns and Citizen Science Stream Index training on the Finnehy River in Kenmare. Next slide. We're just onto the southeast highlights there. So there was 29 events supported across Tipperary, Laois, Kilkenny, Carlow, Wexford and Waterford. So these comprised of river walks and talks in Thurles, Kilsheelan, Cahir, Camross, Ballin, and Waterford. There was citizen science in Clashmore, Castletown and Graignamanagh, poetry by the Darragh. There was All Together Now Festival and Ivork Agricultural Show. This picture here is Tony Barber from the Nor Vision demonstrating kick sampling at Castletown, County Laois. Right. Yeah, so just some more of the events in the southeast. So these were from source to sea. So you can see there on the left hand side, that picture there is a blue dot event in Muckalee and County Kilkenny. And I suppose this is Kilkenny's only blue dot waterway, so it's a high status waterway. And there was great attendance at this event on the day. I suppose the middle picture there, we have a Spa Hill walk, which was a water, wells and natural meadows walk with alongside Nor Vision. And then I suppose our last picture there is a family day at Inch Beach, Wexford, with a Hare River and biodiversity group. And next slide. Yeah, we're just on to some of the events from the Midlands and East. So our top picture here, so it was paddling through the past, a heritage kayaking tour with Monster Evan Blue Way Kayaking Club. So this went from Loch 25, travelling under the drawbridge to the harbour, accompanied by Ronan O'Reilly, Barrow Blue Way speaker, who talked along the way about the history and heritage of the canal and how it shaped the development of Monster Evan as a town. Below it here, then we have Brosna River Festival, which was organised by Forbane Tidy Towns, and the festival was a celebration of the River Brosna, song, storytelling, play, and river investigations. And then our last picture here is Nanny Delvin Rivers Trust. And so the Rivers Trust here, it was their first event, and they showed an inspirational film about the rivers of the world and the need for urgent action. Next slide. There's some more from the Midlands and East there. So we have Waggy Tales and Dirty Trails, which was organised with the Wicklands Upland Council. So they held an event funded by LawPro and hosted in Knockink Wood Nature Reserve by the National Parks and Wildlife Service. So this was a two-part event. Part one was a talk by Professor Wim Meijer, Professor of Microbiology at UCD, who delivered a fascinating talk on the impact of dog fouling on bathing water quality and sharing findings from the Climatise project. And so then the second part of this event was a walk through the woods beside the Glencree River, led by the community water officer in that area, Justin Ivory. So Justin discussed the range of negative impacts that our four-legged friends can have on water quality, biodiversity, and habitat. Over here, then on the right, this little poster here was where the Tolka meets the sea, and it took place in East Wall Sports Centre. They started the conversation about groups joining forces along the river and working together to create a unified approach towards improving water quality. Next slide. Yeah, so just one of the highlights from the border region. So here we have this poster here was a Rathmullen Seashore Walk with Rathmullen Tidy Towns and Angus Kennedy Nature Northwest. A nice event organised there. And the picture here on the right hand side was Kilcar Parish Council, who have been mapping and treating knotweed along their local rivers over the last few years. And they took the opportunity in Heritage Week to highlight their work. So Trish Murphy from the Inishowen Rivers Trust presented on invasive species, how to identify and manage, and gave an overview of the acres landscape actions for invasive controls. This was followed then by a tour of Donegal Bay for Killybegs, led by fellow community water officer Luke. And there was minke whales and dolphins seen on the tour. Great, and there was over 88 attendees also. Next slide. Yeah, just some more there. So over here on the left, we have Sligo Bay Catch River Trust, the Loch Gill boat tour with nature and history guides. Then we have Kilty Clogher Heritage Centre, those local history walks out to the county river, kind of kick sample demonstration. So that's the top right hand picture. And then below that, then we have a Law Pro and National Parks and Wildlife Service collaboration there. So it was out in Darragh, and it was the heading of that there was a lake through time, archaeology, art, wildlife, and water quality. So there was talks on all of that around the lake. Next slide. Yeah, so then this one here is just another one from the border region. So it was out at the Organic Centre in Rossinver. So it was practicing mindfulness along the Glenaniff River. So that's Anne Marie Alaru, who was celebrating water as an amenity for well-being. Next slide. So now we're just on to the Western region as well. So some of their highlights there were, you can see here, the first picture here on the left-hand side and the right there on the one event. So there was a Galway County Council and Law Pro celebrated Water Heritage Day with a fly tying and casting workshop. This was held in the Loughrea regional offices and was aimed at raising awareness of Loughrea Lake and its Blue Flag Beach at Long Point. So Frank and Robert O'Reilly, supported by Loughrea Angling Club, facilitated both workshops and competitions. The organising committees were Rosina Joyce, Mark Malloy, and Angela Quinn of Galway County Council, and then Jeanette Laffey of Law Pro, the community water officer in that area. And the workshop prizes and materials were funded by Galway County Council. Yeah, so just some more of the events there as well. This one here then is so there was a presentation on water quality of the Upper Shannon area, the pressures on water quality and how communities can contribute to positive changes. This was then followed by a guided walk of the River Suck and Ballinasloe's Water Heritage led by Michael Riddle. Next slide. Yeah, so just some top tips then if you are thinking of getting involved there. So I suppose it would be just to contact your local community water officer early, check if there's any permissions needed, if it's landowner consent or anything along those lines. Link in with if there's other local groups in the area, just to get in contact and join up forces. Book local experts if you want to get someone to give a talk, get them booked in early. Share the event details if you have a Facebook page or local shops. Read the guidelines of the events just to see what are the funding, just to see exactly what's required. Write down the grant details. I suppose, well, we cannot view any applications until they're actually submitted. So once they're submitted, we can go in and view them. And if there's any recommendations we need to make, we can get back to you then. So just try and get them in early. Save all the information, ask for help if needed. I suppose importantly as well, keep your group contact details up to date with your CWO or your public participation network. And I suppose as well, don't forget there's a Water Heritage Day award there at the end of the year for any of these events will be entered into that, and there'll be an overall winner there for that. Next slide. Yeah, so just following on from that there, so that's the Water Heritage Day Awards. but it was a lovely event in Royal Hospital Kilmaine in Dublin in autumn 2025. And I suppose this year the overall winner was Connacht Community Council with their event Paddling the Past, a heritage kayak tour of the River Bride, County Cork. And it proved to be a resounding success. So during this event, kayakers experienced the landscape from a news perspective, and there were talks from local historians and games for all ages beside the river, brought the water body to life. And the kayak tour allowed attendees to learn more about the River Bride's natural and cultural heritage. I suppose in addition to this as well, the community water officer for Cork, Ellen Murphy, demonstrated how to examine river invertebrates and gave a talk about water quality, biosecurity, and invasive species management along the river. That was a great event, and they scooped the top award there in the award ceremony. I suppose that just to mention as well, the runners up in that were For the Love of Bats by Ballycumber Tidy Towns and Freshwater, Ballycumber Brosna from County Offaly, and also Spirit of the Water, which was an evening of music and spoken word at the Tin Church, Darragh, organised by Friends of the Upper Annalee in County Monaghan. Next slide. Yeah, it's just some reflections and learning then from ourselves there. So I suppose it's all about strengthening appetite among communities for water-themed heritage events. I suppose showcasing the importance of local and national voices in championing the country's water heritage, and the benefit of inter-county collaboration thanks to strong communities team support. Next slide. Yeah, so just to finish off then, suppose we're always open to new groups, and if there's any groups on the call today that are interested maybe in organising an event, I'd encourage you to get in contact with your local CWO, and they'll be able to support you and guide you in the right direction there. And just finally, thanks for listening. Thank you.